Hey guys, tonight we're drifting into something soft, slow, and honestly, a little too relatable. We're talking about sleep, not your sleep, which I hope you're sinking into right now. But the sleep of ancient people, asterisk people who had no alarms, no deadlines, no midnight TikTok loops. And because history has a sense of humor, usually had nothing. Better to do after sunset than lie down and wait for the sun to come back. Asterisk, so go ahead, get comfortable. Dim the lights. Adjust the blanket. Assume whatever weird pretzel-shaped position you somehow find relaxing. And let's float back a few thousand years to a time when a good night's rest meant surviving the rodents, avoiding the demons, and hoping your dreams weren't prophetic in the wrong direction. Asterisk, and yes. Many people genuinely thought their dreams were letters delivered directly from gods. Asterisk, which must have been fun on the nights when all you dreamed about was a goat chewing your sandals. Asterisk, now. When we imagine ancient people, we tend to picture them as permanently exhausted, traipsing around in wool tunics, barefoot, doing agriculture things all day. And while yes, they worked hard, the surprising part is that ancient people probably slept more than we do, asterisk, and not because they were paragons of wellness or because they had ergonomic haystacks, asterisk, mostly because there just wasn't much else happening after sunset. Once the sun dipped, the world went dark. The candles were expensive, the firewood was limited, and nobody wanted to step on something alive in the dark. Asterisk, so what did people do? They climbed into bed, or onto bed adjacent. Objects that felt like beds if you squinted hard enough. Asterisk, but let's float through this slowly. Because sleep in the ancient world wasn't just sleep. It was a whole cultural ecosystem, segmented nights, communal dreams, household spirits, medical theories involving warm vapors, and, of course, kings who claimed divine dreams as excuses for their questionable life choices. Asterisk, imagine telling your court, yes, I invaded the kingdom next door because a glowing bird told me to in a dream. And the court just nodding like this is a perfectly normal memo from HR. So let's take a gentle step backward into ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, Rome. And everywhere else, people lay down and hoped their roof didn't leak on their face. Asterisk will drift through how much they slept, why they slept so much, what their nights looked like, and what their dreams meant to them. Asterisk, expect a lot of superstitions. Medical theories that aged like warm milk and a surprising amount of royal overconfidence. Asterisk, so, now that you're comfy, let's glide into the world's oldest bedtime routine. Let's start with a peaceful truth. Ancient people slept in 2 shifts, asterisk you. In your modern glory, probably try to squeeze all your sleep into one single block. Ideally, 8 hours. Realistically, 6. And emotionally, about 3.5. Asterisk, but ancient humans. They slept twice. This wasn't weird. It wasn't mystical. It wasn't even seen as noteworthy. It was just how humans operated before electricity. Decided to be the boss of our circadian rhythms, asterisk people went to bed not long after sunset. Slept for a few hours, woke up around midnight. Hung out for an hour or two, and then went back to sleep for their second sleep. Asterisk, this midnight interval was called the watch, which makes it sound like people were preparing for dramatic Viking raids. But mostly they used it to eat something, talk, pray, cuddle, process dreams. Or in a very popular pastime, visit the neighbors. Imagine a whole community casually awake at 1:30 a.m. Just vibing. Asterisk. One medieval monk complained that people used this interval for acts of sin instead of prayer, which is such a predictable monk complaint that you can practically hear the sigh. Asterisk. But this 2-part sleep rhythm goes back far beyond the Middle Ages. Even ancient Mesopotamians assumed it. Egyptian medical papyri refer to dreams that occur between the sleeps. Greek texts mention it casually, as if everyone's just supposed to know. Asterisk, so yes, our ancestors had a built-in intermission. Sleep, stretch, snack. Sleep again. Asterisk if you're wondering whether two-part sleep was healthier. The answer is probably yes, but it's too late for us. We're married to our smartphones. We made our choices. Asterisk, but why did ancient people sleep so much? Let's drift that way for a moment. Asterisk, reason number 1. Because night was incredibly boring. Asterisk this might be the biggest factor. Asterisk nighttime entertainment options included staring at the fire, talking to your family. Dangerous. Asterisk, telling stories you've already heard 900 times. Fixing something. Doing nothing. Trying not to get eaten or robbed. That's it. No Netflix? No. Podcasts? No. Doom scrolling? No. Late night walks lit by street lamps. Asterisk, just pure uncut darkness. Asterisk, even wealthy households with torches and oil lamps had to ration them. Oil was expensive. Candles were worse. And nobody wanted to risk burning the house down because someone felt like reading a clay tablet at midnight. Asterisk, so people slept a lot. Asterisk, 9 to 10 hours was normal. More if the weather was bad. Basically, the original sleeping in. Reason number 2. Because their bodies were tired in ways ours usually aren't. Asterisk. The ancient world required physical labor from almost everyone. Asterisk, even nobles had to ride long distances, stand through endless ceremonies, and survive diets with the structural integrity of damp bread. Asterisk, ordinary people. They carried things, they hauled things, they dug things. They walked everywhere. Asterisk, they had no ergonomic chairs, no cushioned shoes, and no chiropractors unless you counted that guy who stretches spines with questionable confidence. Asterisk, by sunset. People weren't just tired, they were thoroughly, uncomplicatedly exhausted. Asterisk, and unlike modern tiredness, which is often emotional, existential, and generally unnecessary, ancient tiredness was mechanical. You chopped wood all day. You carried 50 pounds of something you didn't ask for. You tried to fix a roof with Bronze Age tools. Asterisk, of course, they slept. They had earned it. Reason number 3. Seasonal rhythms mattered more than schedules. Asterisk, for most of history. People didn't care about clocks, mostly because clocks didn't exist. Asterisk, time was measured in the sun is up, the sun is down, the rooster has opinions in winter, especially in northern Europe or high regions. The sun might set at 4 p.m. That meant people often had 14 or 15 hours of darkness ahead of them. You can only fill so much of that with storytelling and complaining about the weather. Asterisk, so much of ancient sleeping was simply seasonal. Asterisk, long winter nights. Longer sleep. Asterisk, short summer nights. Shorter sleep. Asterisk, no guilt. No discourse. No productivity articles. Let's float toward the really fun part. Ancient dreams. Asterisk. Now that we've tucked ancient people into bed, let's drift softly into their dreams. Asterisk, dreams in the ancient world were not random brain static from your memory files. As we like to explain today, asterisk, they were messages from gods, from spirits, asterisk, from your ancestors, asterisk, from your own liver. If you were in a particularly creative branch of Greek medicine, asterisk, people believed dreams contained warnings, omens, instructions, or symbolic homework. And because of that, they took their dreams extremely seriously. Entire professions existed just to interpret them. Asterisk, imagine waking up from a dream about losing your sandals and immediately going to see the local dream expert for advice. And the expert, who is basically a sleep consultant with a robe, says something like, asterisk, ah, yes. This means you should not make business agreements on an empty stomach. People paid for that. But let's glide through some civilizations. because each one had its own special flavor of dream. Interpretation. Mesopotamia, the masters of dream. Bureaucracy, asterisk, Mesopotamians. Were the earliest known sleep nerds, asterisk, they. Wrote dream manuals, asterisk, they. Made dream lists, asterisk, they documented dreams on clay. Tablets like sleep-obsessed accountants, asterisk, one surviving. Dream interpretation tablet includes over 1,000 entries, many of which sound like someone frantically trying to make sense of their subconscious after a questionable dinner. For example, if a man dreams he is eating a raven, he will gain wealth, asterisk, if he dreams he is eating lion meat. He will experience great anxieties, asterisk, if he dreams a goat enters his house. A stranger will disrupt his life, asterisk, honestly. That last one feels pretty literal. Asterisk, Mesopotamian kings especially loved dreams because they could claim divine permission for absolutely anything. Asterisk, want to build a new palace. Asterisk, the god told me in a dream. Asterisk, want to invade your neighbor? Asterisk, dream again. Very clear message. Asterisk, want to avoid a difficult conversation? Asterisk, sorry, the gods warned me last night. Can't do it. Dreams were basically ancient strategic memos. Asterisk. Egypt, where dreams were medical, magical, and mildly chaotic, asterisk. Egyptians also had dream interpreters, but they leaned heavily into symbolism. Asterisk, a dream about falling. Your life force might be unstable. A dream about drowning. Asterisk, you might have emotional problems, magical problems, or actual problems. Asterisk, dreams involving animals usually meant some deity was trying to get your attention. If you dreamed of a cat, that might be Bastet. If you dreamed of a bull, that might be Apis. If you dreamed of a crocodile, that might be Sobek telling you to stop walking. Near rivers, like an idiot, asterisk, Egypt. Had dream temples, two places where people slept, specifically to receive divine visions. Asterisk, which means the ancient world invented the spiritual retreat long before Instagram wellness influencers did. Greece, where dreams were therapeutic and occasionally annoying, asterisk, Greek thinkers loved categorizing things. So they had multiple theories for dreams. Asterisk, some believed dreams were messages from the gods. Asterisk, some believed dreams were reflections of the soul. Some believed dreams were indigestion. Aristotle believed dreams were the brain reacting to random stimuli while sleeping. Asterisk, yes. Aristotle basically invented the scientific sleep explanation more than 2,000 years before modern neuroscience caught up. Asterisk. But the real dream celebrities were the Asclepi healing sanctuaries, where people slept hoping for a dream that told them how to cure their ailments. These dreams were usually interpreted by priests, who sometimes involved snakes in the ritual because Greeks never missed an opportunity to be dramatic. Asterisk, people would literally sleep in temple dormitories waiting for a dream in which the god Asclepios performed imaginary surgery on them. Asterisk, and if you woke up healed, great. If you didn't, asterisk, well, you probably needed more dreams. Rome, still Greek, but with more complaining. Asterisk, Romans adopted Greek dream theories but added their own flair. Asterisk, they were incredibly superstitious. So dreams about anything unusual, birds, storms, animals talking, relatives waving from beyond the grave, were considered signs of something important. Asterisk, one Roman emperor, Caligula, reportedly had a dream where he stood above the gods. Of course he did, because if history teaches us anything, it's that Rome had a talent for producing men who could turn any odd dream into a justification for terrible decisions. So what did ancient people dream about? Asterisk, dream records suggest a few repeating themes. Animals to many animals, losing items, food gods. Yelling at them, dead relatives, being unhelpful buildings, collapsing water. Always water being chased. Though usually by unrealistic creatures, dreams were vivid, symbolic, terrifying, fascinating, and always worth discussing the next morning. Asterisk. Which brings us back to that period between first sleep and second sleep prime time for dream sharing. Asterisk. Families would wake, stretch, poke the fire, and talk about their dreams like they were gossip updates. Asterisk. Imagine a Bronze Age breakfast conversation at 1 a.m. Asterisk. I dreamed of a goat kicking over a pot. Should I be worried? Asterisk. Probably. Asterisk. What does it mean? Asterisk. All goats are omens, brother. Oh, now go back to sleep. Let's glide now into where people actually slept. Asterisk beds were. Not the fluffy, supportive, orthopedic masterpieces we expect today. Asterisk. Ancient beds range from stone platform covered in mats to wooden frame with woven rope surface to pile of straw that may or may not contain something alive. Wealthy people had nicer beds, but even then, mattresses were mostly stuffed with reeds, wool, or feathers if you were lucky. Asterisk. Pillows. Often just folded cloth. Sometimes a wooden headrest that looks like an ancient torture device. Asterisk. Blankets. Animal skins, heavy wool, maybe linen sheets if you were elite. Privacy. Asterisk. Almost non-existent. Families, servants, and sometimes animals shared sleeping spaces. The concept of a master bedroom would have sounded like a fever dream. Asterisk. So, we've drifted through what ancient people believed about dreams. Asterisk. Now let's stay in the quiet darkness a little longer and glide into the part nobody ever thinks about, what their nights actually felt like. Asterisk. Because it turns out, sleeping in the ancient world wasn't this serene. Cinematic moment with soft moonlight and gentle breezes. Asterisk. It was. A situation, asterisk, a crunchy, creaky, drafty, occasionally rodent-adjacent situation. Let's drift into that. Asterisk. Nights were loud, chaotic, and biologically disrespectful. We like to imagine the pre-industrial night as silent, peaceful, almost sacred. Well, ancient nights were dark, very dark, but they were not quiet. Asterisk. Picture this: dogs barking at spirits, or possibly nothing donkeys, braying because they can. Asterisk. Chickens launching. Unsolicited pre-dawn opinions, asterisk, someone's. Cow wandering too close to someone else's house, asterisk, the wind. Making the shutters rattle like medieval. Percussion, your family snoring beside you, the hearth. Crackling, popping, and occasionally spitting embers in your direction, asterisk, and of course, insects performing whatever questionable festivals they were into, asterisk. There's a reason the ancient world invented charms, amulets, and protective symbols for sleep. You needed all the help you could get. A Roman commentator once wrote that nighttime was the hour of all creeping things. Sounds poetic until you remember he meant it literally. Ancient homes were not sealed, not insect-proof, definitely not rat-proof. Asterisk. If you were lucky, you slept on a raised wooden bed. If you weren't, you slept on the floor at ground level, where all the little gods of chaos roamed freely. No wonder they believed in demons and spirits of the night. Nothing puts you in a supernatural mood like feeling something brush your ankle in the dark. And yet, ancient people still slept more than we do despite all this noise. Discomfort, mystery creatures, people got more sleep. Why? Because they had time, and because life was arranged around daylight, not productivity metrics. Let's drift gently through an average night in a few different ancient societies. A soft walk into an Egyptian night. Imagine the Nile Valley. It's warm, sometimes too warm, but nighttime brings a little relief. Families are settling in. The house is small, but functional mud brick walls, a roof terrace, maybe 2 rooms. You go to sleep on a mat stuffed with reeds, covered in linen if you're fancy. The household is close. Literally, you can hear your siblings breathing. Someone shifts in their sleep, and the whole room feels it. Egyptians worried about dreams because they believed the soul traveled at night, wandering outside the body like a mildly curious bird. So, before bed, people sometimes spoke protective words or hung amulets nearby. You drift off to the rhythmic sound of the Nile insects chanting whatever rude lullaby. They've been practicing since the Old Kingdom, at midnight. You wake up naturally, everyone did. Maybe you check the fire, or maybe you look outside at the sky. Maybe you think about the dream you just had, involving a particularly unhelpful ibis. Then you settle back in for second sleep. Time flows differently here. The night isn't interrupted by screens or artificial light. Your body simply follows the natural rhythm of darkness. A quiet glide into the night Greek homes were also small, with rooms arranged around a courtyard. Families shared space. Though wealthy households could afford separate women's and men's quarters, beds were wooden frames strung with leather straps, basically ancient hammocks with structural integrity issues. Mattresses were stuffed with wool if you were upper class, straw if you were normal. And leaves if you were having a rough year. People slept earlier than we do, simply because there wasn't enough lamp oil to justify staying awake. Dreams mattered tremendously to the Greeks. Even common people tried to interpret them, and philosophers endlessly argued about meaning. Some believed dreams were messages from gods. Others thought they reflected your daily anxieties, like, did I leave the olive jar open? Or was that goat looking at me weirdly? In the middle of the night, during the quiet interval between sleeps, people talked softly or meditated. Some even claimed that the stillness of midnight was perfect for receiving divine insights. I'm not sure how much divine insight you can get when your neighbor's goat is knocking something over. But the Greeks were committed. The Mesopotamian night. A time for dreams and demons. Mesopotamians took nighttime seriously. Darkness was full of supernatural danger. Many of their gods were sun gods for a reason. Nighttime was sketchy. It belonged to the unseen forces, the ones who lurked in corners you didn't want to look at before bed. Families burned incense or recited protective phrases. They might hang an amulet shaped like a tiny, mildly angry god. They might whisper a protective spell like keep away. Keep away, which honestly feels like a universal human mood. Beds varied. Wealthier families had wooden frames with woven bases. Poorer families slept on reed mats or even packed earth, but everyone dreamed. And everyone believed dreams meant something. The dream manuals they produced are hilariously specific. If you dream of drinking beer with a dead man, you will have joy. A bit concerning. But okay, midnight wasn't scary though. Midnight was peaceful. The dangerous spirits preferred dusk and early night. By the middle of the night, the world was quiet enough that you could sit beside the oil lamp and interpret your dream while your spouse snored. Rhythmically, the Roman night. A mixture of comfort and complaining Romans. Loved comfort. They tried, they really did. Wealthy Romans slept on proper beds with feather-stuffed mattresses and soft wool blankets. They had privacy, separate bedrooms, and enough staff to keep the house secure. Poor Romans slept in shared apartments with thin walls, questionable neighbors, and an endless chorus of street dogs who apparently never slept. Roman authors frequently complained about noise. Kartsvinder Sinskran Sas, singing drunks fighting people shouting for lamps babies crying doors. Slamming some men's livestock objecting to something one. Writer insisted that the only time Rome was quiet was during a solar eclipse, which tells you everything. Even so, Romans slept more than modern people. They had afternoon naps. They had early bedtimes. They had fewer distractions. Their dreams. Also symbolic, also dramatic, also filled with God's giving unsolicited advice. Now let's drift into another aspect. Why ancient people woke up so easily. You think sleeping in large households made people sleep deeper. But the opposite was true. They woke up constantly. Not because of stress. Modern stress is built differently, but because pre-industrial sleep was naturally segmented. Noisy environment. Normal, body adjusting to darkness. Normal, fire needing attention. Normal, someone snoring like a mythological creature. Also normal, and because people weren't expected to wake up early and commute through traffic. Night waking wasn't a problem. You'd wake, stretch, stare at the shadows dancing on the wall. Talk to your spouse, check on the kids, maybe step outside for cool air, and then drift back into second sleep without worrying about ruining your productivity stats. This is probably the most peaceful thing about ancient life. Sleep wasn't a battle, it was a friend, or at least a mildly chaotic roommate. Let's wander softly into ancient sleep beliefs. Ancient people didn't think sleep was just rest. It was a spiritual and medical event. Here are some of their favorite explanations. 1. The soul leaves the body during sleep. Very common belief. Egyptians, Greeks, Mesopotamians, and even some medieval Europeans thought your soul wandered out at night like a curious tourist. If you were startled awake, the soul might not return properly. This was their explanation for grogginess. Honestly, kind of wholesome too. Dreams are divine messages. This one never went away. Kings used dreams to justify decisions. Priests interpreted dreams for payment. Regular people looked for signs in dreams the way we look for signs in horoscope apps. 3. Sleep cools the heart. Some Greek doctors believed that sleep happened when warm vapors rose from the stomach and gently steamed the brain. This is very incorrect, but also exactly the kind of confident medical nonsense ancient physicians specialized in. 4. Demons attack during sleep. This is where we get prototypes of sleep paralysis. Demons. Ancient cultures believed that certain spirits sat on your chest at night, causing nightmares and breathlessness. Honestly, same vibe as your cat deciding 3 a.m. is affection hour. 5. Dreams reveal the future. Popular everywhere. One dream tablet literally lists which dreams predict wealth, which predict good harvests, and which predict severe losses of all kinds. That last category was large. Let's drift into the last gentle topic for this section. Dream sharing in the pre-industrial world. People talked about dreams constantly. Dreams were mourning. Gossip. Dreams were social currency. Dreams were a joint puzzle everyone tried to decode like an ancient therapy session. Imagine being in a house where everyone wakes at 1 a.m. in a quiet, candlelit moment and shares what they dreamed in first sleep. Something like, I dreamed I was chased by a giant fish. I dreamed the bread burned. I dreamed our neighbor stole our goat. I dreamed my dead aunt was cooking soup and told me to eat less barley. Everyone nods thoughtfully. Someone suggests a meaning. Someone else says you should go to the temple tomorrow, just in case. Then everyone settles back into bed for the next round of dreams. Like tuning into season 2 of their subconscious. There was no rush, no schedule, no I have a meeting early. Just the slow rhythm of human sleep, naturally broken into 2 peaceful halves. As we drift deeper into the ancient night, let's gently turn toward something surprisingly soothing. The strange, improvisational, often questionable sleep accessories ancient people used. Because if you think your mattress is a little lumpy or your pillow has betrayed you, history is here to show you that your sleep problems are adorable. Let's glide into pillows. Or whatever counted as pillows today. Pillows are soft, comforting, supportive objects. In the ancient world, they were. Mainly a hope. Egyptian pillows. Egyptians slept on headrests, curved wooden pieces mounted on a stand, designed to elevate the head. Imagine a minimalist. IKEA stool for your skull. Comfort rating 2/10 aesthetic. Rating 10/10 likelihood of your head slipping off 100%. Egyptians believed the head was sacred and needed protection. So raising it off the bed was symbolic as much as practical. Also, it kept creepy crawlers away. Honestly. Fair enough, Mesopotamian pillows basically compact sacks stuffed with wool or reeds. A softish rock disguised as a cloud. Greek pillows. Greeks liked stuffed cushions, but they were often firm and dense. Think beanbag with commitment issues. Roman pillows. Romans, as usual, went all in, feathers, wool, linen covers. The elite even had embroidered pillows. Because nothing says empire like unnecessary decoration on things you sleep on. But pillows weren't universal. Many people slept with no pillow at all, just an arm tucked underneath. Some historians think this gave people a naturally straighter spine. But I'm fairly sure it also gave them naturally cranky mornings. Now let's drift over to mattresses. Ancient mattresses were not the plush, breathable, memory foam marvels we know today. They belong to a different species entirely. The species of objects that look like furniture but feel like personal adversity. Common mattress fillers included. Straw itchy, but available reeds makes crunchy sound effects as you shift positions. Wool expensive. Warm, occasionally smelled like sheep memories. Feathers luxurious but required elite. Level, feather plucking labor. Leaves only. For the economically creative. Mattresses needed constant maintenance. Straw had to be replaced. Feathers had to be fluffed. Ropes under the bed had to be tightened. Everything squeaked. Everything poked. Everything attracted insects. But here's the twist. Ancient people expected discomfort. A soft bed was weird, almost suspicious. Some cultures associated luxury with weakness, preferring firm sleeping surfaces. Today's orthopedic mattress would have sounded like mystical nonsense to someone who lived in a mud brick house next to 3 goats. Blankets, covers, and other defensive layers against the night. Blankets were typically wool, warm but prickly. Animal skins, warm but heavy. Linen sheets, rare. Seasonal, a prestige symbol. A wealthy Roman might have multiple layers, including imported fabrics from India or Egypt. A poorer villager might have one blanket shared by several. People sleeping alone was rare. Bundling together for warmth wasn't just a survival. Tacticate was social. Also, the more bodies in a room, the more heat, and the more heat, the fewer night demons you blamed things on. It was a win-win. Let's shift gently into the ancient war on nighttime. Cold central heating didn't exist. Double glazed windows didn't exist. Thick walls could only do so much. So winter nights, they were rude. People used braziers, clay heaters, thick furs, hot stones wrapped in cloth. Family members, the original heating system. Pets, bonus warmth. Greeks slept on roof terraces in summer, but moved indoors in winter. Romans heated their elite homes with hypocaust systems, floors warmed by hot air. But these were mostly for baths and public buildings, not bedrooms. Ordinary homes. Drafty, cold. Sometimes smoky if you burned the wrong fuel. but quiet in a way modern nights rarely are, except for the dogs and the goats. And that one rooster who thought 2 a.m. was a perfectly valid sunrise. Floating toward ancient bedtime routines, despite varying lifestyles. Most ancient people shared a few simple nighttime habits. 1. Washing. Sometimes Romans liked evening baths. Greeks also appreciated cleanliness. Egyptians used scented oils. Everyone else did what they could with nearby water sources. 2. Saying prayers or charms. Sleep was vulnerable. People believed the soul traveled, demons lurked, bad spirits wandered. So evening rituals were common. Egyptians recited protection spells. Mesopotamians placed amulets under beds. Greeks invoked household gods. Romans offered simple prayers to Larry's household spirits. Not out of fear, but out of habit, like brushing your teeth. Today just more supernatural. 3. Adjusting the fire, making sure it wouldn't go out or wouldn't burn the house down either. Option required regular monitoring. 4. Setting up the room. Every household rearranged the sleeping area at night. Beds were moved, mats were unrolled. Children were herded in 2 corners. 1 or 2 lamps were left burning low. You didn't want to walk around in absolute darkness because ancient rooms were full of objects waiting to stub your toes into oblivion. Let's glide into something softer. Communal sleep. Modern people treat sleep as this deeply private ritual. We close the door, cover the windows, turn off the lights, isolate ourselves. Ancient people. Their nights were communal. Families slept in groups, sometimes entire households, sometimes multiple households in one big shared space. Privacy was limited. Quiet was limited. Personal space was a theoretical concept, but in a strange, tender way, it also meant people weren't alone at night. There was always someone breathing nearby. Someone shifting beside you, someone murmuring in their sleep, someone you could whisper to in the dark if you woke during first sleep. It created a sense of safety. Not physical safety. Nighttime was always full of dangers, but social safety. You didn't face the dark alone. And when you woke at midnight for the intermission, your family woke with you. Some tended the fire, some stretched, some talked quietly. Some nursed babies. Some stepped outside to look at stars that were actually visible. It's a kind of peace that's hard for modern people to imagine. Let's drift back to dreams again. Dream fears. Dream hopes. Dreams weren't random in the ancient world. They were life guidance systems. People feared dreams, respected them, sought meaning in them. Here were some common dream anxieties. 1. Dreaming of losing teeth. In many cultures, this meant death was coming, usually for a relative. A terrifying thought. If you'd just eaten something crunchy before bed. 2. Dreaming of falling, often interpreted as instability, spiritual danger, or political change. Or, more realistically, sleeping on a straw mattress that shifted when you turned. 3. Dreaming of animals. Every animal meant something. A. Snake, divine warning. A lion, power, anxiety, or chaos. A goat, misfortune, unless it was friendly, in which case it was prosperity, a very moody symbol. 4. Dreaming of water. Rivers, floods. Oceans always meaningful. Calm water meant peace. Rough water meant danger. Flooding meant very bad harvests. which was the ancient equivalent of catastrophic stock market news. *5. Dreaming of dead relatives. These were considered visits, not spooky. Just direct communication. *F. Very normal. People discussed these dreams openly. Nobody said. It's just your brain processing memories. The ancient world didn't have that level of scientific detachment. Dreams mattered. Let's float slowly. Toward dream interpretation as a job there were entire professions dedicated to decoding dreams. The Mesopotamian. Baru priests trained in reading. Omens. Dreams were just one part of their spiritual. Toolkit. They consulted dream tablets. With long lists of meanings, Egyptian dream interpreters, some worked in temples, some worked independently. Some charged fees that probably irritated their clients when the interpretations didn't pan out. Greek romancers, yes. The Greeks had a word for dream interpreters. Of course they did. They had a word for everything. Roman dream consultants, often philosophers. Priests or self-appointed experts. Romans loved an opinion, and dream interpretation gave them many opportunities. Kings and generals often asked these interpreters for advice. Sometimes they listened, sometimes they ignored them. Sometimes they regretted it. And now, gently, let's turn toward nighttime fears. Despite all the rituals, charms, and routines, ancient nights were frightening. Not in a dramatic horror movie way, in a slow, quiet, background anxiety way. Here were the big fears. 1. Spirits and demons. Every culture had night creatures, usually invisible, usually menacing, often blamed for nightmares. Sleep paralysis or illness. 2. Thieves' darkness. Was a thief's best friend. Locks were primitive. Doors were weak. Dogs were the main security system. 3. Fire A. Stray spark could burn down an entire household. This. Fear was constant. For illness night was when people seemed weakest. If someone fell ill at night, there were fewer resources and greater fear. 5. Child safety. Infants were considered vulnerable to spirits, cold, and sudden illness. Parents often slept extremely close to them for protection. These fears shaped nightly routines. They shaped bedtime rituals. They shaped the way people approached sleep. Dreams and nighttime silence. Not with panic, but with respect. So, let's keep floating through the night. We're drifting now into the Middle Ages, which, despite the armor and plagues, were surprisingly obsessed with sleep. You might assume medieval people spent their nights screaming into the void while rats tap-danced on their windowsills. But they actually slept deeply, frequently, and with a kind of dreamy seriousness that feels almost poetic when you squint hard enough. And monks, course, wrote everything down. Because nothing says God's work like taking meticulous notes on how Brother Thomas snored. Let's settle in with one gentle truth. Medieval people truly believed their dreams mattered. Not in a fun horoscope way. More like, your subconscious is a divine voicemail way. It's very restful. Honestly, let's drift into it. The medieval sleep environment, very cozy. If you ignore reality, picture a room, low ceilings, a smoky hearth, probably one damp sock drying over it. Most families slept together. Not because they wanted to bond deeply, but for the simple reason that housing was expensive and insulation didn't exist. This meant that if you needed something like personal space or emotional boundaries, congratulations, you would never experience them in your lifetime. Asterisk people curled up on straw mattresses, stuffed with whatever was available. Straw reads, maybe hay if you were fancy. The rustling sound alone probably counted as a SMR for them. Asterisk fleas. Yes, asterisk lice. Naturally, asterisk a comforting warmth of several human bodies pressed together like a medieval sardine tin. Always asterisk, the comforting part is that everyone was just used to it. No one thought twice about the sound of your uncle grinding his teeth right next to your ear. It was simply how the world lulled you to sleep. Asterisk, and the darkness. It was real darkness. The kind our lead-bathed brains can hardly imagine. The kind of darkness that practically wrapped around you like an old blanket and told your brain, quite firmly, go to sleep now or else. So they did. A lot. Segmented sleep. Still going strong. Asterisk, the medieval form of first sleep and second sleep continued without question. You went to bed after dark, woke around midnight, and then you spent that hour or two doing something quietly ritualistic. Asterisk prayer was the big one. People felt the middle of the night awakening was practically engineered by God for conversation. Sort of like God sending a you up. Text at 1 a.m. And you were morally obligated to respond. Asterisk others used the interval to check on livestock or to think deeply about how many sins they had definitely committed that week. Spoiler, they believed it was always a lot. Asterisk rich people sometimes read devotional texts. Poor people stared into the fire and hoped the roof didn't collapse. Everyone just gently floated through that liminal zone of half-wakefulness until the second. Sleep washed over them again. Asterisk in the stillness, dreams lingered. Sometimes vivid. Sometimes prophetic. Sometimes just the medieval equivalent of stress dreaming about your grain harvest. Asterisk. Dream culture. A whole genre of anxiety, asterisk dreams. Two medieval thinkers were not random. They were deeply important, gently unsettling, and occasionally taken way too seriously. Asterisk dreams could come from three sources. According to medieval scholars, asterisk. 1. God, the preferred source. These dreams were messages, warnings, gentle nudges toward moral behavior. Occasionally confusing riddles that theologians debated like book club members who took things too personally. Asterisk. 2. The devil-very disappointing source. If your dream was scandalous or chaotic or involved any sort of fun at all, it was probably Satan. Medieval monks wrote many confused and embarrassed notes on this topic. 3. Your stomach? Yes. Really. Asterisk medieval physicians believed that indigestion caused dream weirdness. So if you dreamed of a giant fish arguing with an angel in your backyard, the official explanation might be, asterisk shouldn't have eaten that onion soup so late, my child. Asterisk, it's soothing in its way. Your entire psychological landscape boiled down to these three categories. Simple, manageable, very on brand for the era. The dream books are strange. Sleepy hobby asterisk people loved interpreting dreams so much that they kept huge collections of dream meanings. These dream books were basically medieval Wikipedia. If Wikipedia was handwritten, deeply biased, and occasionally cursed. You dream of a ladder gives good fortune asterisk, a ship gives emotional. Journey a pig gives too many bodily sins. Naturally, your teeth falling out gives also sins. Always sings a chicken gives your household will soon grow, usually in the form of more chickens, monks, nobles, tradesmen. Everyone used dream books. They believed the subconscious was a divine communication system layered with metaphors and lightly filtered through medieval anxieties. Asterisk, and a surprising number of people dreamed about kings. Which makes sense, since kings were the medieval world's version of celebrities, except with more plague exposure and worse haircuts. Dreams as warnings. Royal edition * kings were famously paranoid about dreams. They recorded them, analyzed them, and summoned theologians who probably just wanted to go home and sleep, but were instead expected to discuss. Symbolic lions at 2 a.m. * take the example of King Henry I of England. He reportedly dreamed of collapsing churches, screaming animals, and rivers turning red. Medieval chroniclers wrote these down with absolutely zero emotion, as if to say, "Yep, sounds about right for a monarch who taxed everything that moved." Or, Charlemagne * he dreamed of his sword breaking. A bad omen, apparently. His advisors delivered the interpretation with the soothing calm of people who knew better than to annoy a very large, very powerful man who slept with a dagger under his pillow. Medieval royalty were not subtle. If they had a bad dream, entire policies could shift. It's very bedtime story adjacent when you think about it. *. Ordinary people's dreams, mostly about food, * meanwhile. The average medieval person wasn't dreaming about political collapse or holy symbolism. * They dreamed about bread fields, lost sheep, occasionally being chased by something they couldn't quite identify, * very peaceful themes. Honestly, the kind of dreams modern sleep apps would categorize as pastoral stress but low intensity. * dreams were a break from reality, and sometimes the only place where life felt even remotely under your control. If your dream sheep wandered off, at least you didn't have to actually go find it. The midnight wish hour * here's something very gentle. Medieval people often used the interval between their first and second sleep to make wishes. Not dramatic wishes, not genie lamp wishes, just quiet. Personal, small hopes whispered into the FIRELIGHT * things. Like * let the weather be kind. Tomorrow * let the crop grow well. * let Brother Stevens stop snoring so aggressively. * it's surprisingly sweet, the idea that the middle of the night was the perfect hour for simple prayers and soft, almost sleepy requests. It makes you wonder if we lost something cozy along the way. * Dream journeys and pilgrimages. * now. Every so often, medieval dreamers reported unusually vivid dreams. In these, they traveled through heavenly landscapes or wandered through symbolic forests. They described these voyages with the calm certainty of people who had absolutely no concept of lucid dreaming, but had full confidence in their spiritual importance. * One monk dreamed he traveled through an orchard and met angels pruning trees. Another dreamed of a long hallway full of doors, each representing a different sign, which is a little on the nose but very practical visualization. * People didn't dismiss these dreams. They treated them like sacred pilgrimages. Some even wrote lengthy dream journals, which feels extremely modern, except that their entries usually ended with something like, "And I shall now avoid cheese after sunset." Sleep as a moral indicator * here's a very medieval idea. Sleeping too much was sinful. Sleeping too little was also sinful. * the correct amount, according to monks, was somewhere between 6 and 8 hours, broken into 2 neat sections, with the middle hour dedicated to piety. * Naturally, no one actually followed this rule. But it was comforting that someone had written it. DOWNA monk, complaining about oversleeping, would write, "The devil laid upon me a great heaviness this morning. Instead of the more accurate I was, just tired because Brother Matthew talks too loudly at night." The world was always moralized. Even rest. A slow drift toward the Renaissance *, and as we drift gently toward the later medieval centuries, a shift begins. Dreams start to acquire new meaning, not just moral or spiritual symbolism, but psychological curiosity. Scholars begin asking questions like, why do dreams reflect emotions? Why do we sometimes dream of events before they happen? What does it mean when symbolism repeats? Asterisk, it wasn't Freud yet, thank goodness, but it was the early rumbling of a different attitude, a curiosity that wasn't just based on guilt or divine messaging, but on the mystery of the mind. Asterisk, but we'll get to that shift, gently no sudden turns. Just a slow glide into the Renaissance dreamscape, where sleep becomes a philosophical subject. Asterisk, we're drifting there next.